Joining me now is former federal prosecutor Brett Tolman. Brett, thanks for being with us here today. When it comes to the media, the accountability that is required is simply public awareness so that we can continue to tune out those who lie, that they have burned their own reputations at the stake of perhaps this anti-Trump bias, and their ratings have in turn suffered. But what about those, Brett, around Joe Biden that perpetuated this deception? Is there any potential real accountability?
Well, Will, there is accountability ahead for them. It is no coincidence that you are starting to hear stories and small leaks of people and individuals that may have been involved, utilization of the auto pin that may have been inappropriate. And keep in mind, if an individual, for example, that works in a small government office were to embezzle funds or were to manipulate or develop some scheme to, get a benefit that they weren't entitled to, we'd have no problem investigating that and then bringing them to justice. Here, the most powerful office in our country may have been manipulated by individuals that were seeking to benefit themselves or others. It absolutely should be investigated rigorously, and accountability should be the only inevitable conclusion to that investigation.
You bring up embezzlement. So if there is accountability in this situation, Brett, what charges? What could be brought?
Well, there are probably a dozen different statutes that are aimed specifically at individuals who are willing to abuse their power in government, who are willing to do things that are unethical and illegal in order to gain a personal benefit or a benefit for someone else. Not to mention that if fraud is occurring, where you're actually using the power that you don't have through some scheme to enable a benefit for yourself or others, then you have fraud statutes that may come into play. We need to know who was doing what level of manipulation, how they used the authority of President Biden while he was incapacitated, and then did it inure to the benefit of those individuals or individuals that surround them.
Okay, tell me more about that. You brought up fraud, and you said there's a dozen other charges, but you consistently said that inured a benefit to those individuals that would be subjected to charges. So in embezzlement, that's clear. It's a financial benefit to those. In this situation, fraud, what would you have to show would be a requisite benefit for, say, a chief of staff or maybe even a spouse or whoever it may be? What kind of benefit?
Well, there are many benefits that are not necessarily just financial. We do know, though, financial benefits may have been extended. Money may have been authorized to be spent that wouldn't have otherwise without the ability to use the auto pen and manipulate the president. But there are many other benefits. You and I both saw and watched in dismay as individuals received pardons, preemptive pardons that many argue are unconstitutional. So there are benefits that may have been given and extended through the power
Brett,
of the president.
Do the pardons threaten to cut the conversation you and I are having off at the beginning? Like there's nowhere else to go. It's a stillbirth when it comes to potential accountability.
Yeah, it may with some. Those that may have received the preemptive pardons, what is the scope of the pardon and is it valid? The Supreme Court may ultimately be deciding whether or not a president can extend his clemency power when there hasn't been charges brought. And that's a question that many argue and disagree with. So, Will, your point's a very good one. We may see individuals that avoid accountability if they were involved in that manipulation based on those preemptive pardons.
Okay, so let me just say, as we wind this up, see if I fully understand. So first you figure out who is responsible for the deception, for maintaining this fraud on the American public. Then you bring charges, whether or not they may be fraud, a bunch of different potential charges. You said a dozen where they experienced benefits to themselves by deceiving the American people. Third, you bring those charges, you get a conviction, but then you have to deal with the pardon, which makes its way up to the Supreme Court to see if that has been already wiped away, slate wiped clean. They get away with it, no accountability. Is that a flow chart?
I think it is a flow chart. The one caveat being the Supreme Court may very well rule that the president doesn't have the power to extend a pardon where no crime has been alleged.
All right. fascinating conversation with real substance to it. Brett Tolman, thanks so much for bringing that to us today.
Thanks, Will.
Hey, it's Will Cain. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News channel on YouTube. It's the best way to get our latest interviews and highlights. And click to subscribe to the Will Cain podcast for full episodes right now.